In 1994, South Africa had just come out of a recession. Soon after, foreign investors came to the country and the economy began to grow. Since then, it has grown by 3% per annum. In 2005-2006, the country went back into recession. South Africa was also not spared in the 2008-2009 global financial crisis. It began to recover, supported by the 2010 Soccer World Cup. However, the country slipped back into a recession again in 2018 until the last quarter of 2019. As South Africa began to recover from the latest recession, along came COVID and knocked the economy to a 7% contraction.
South Africa, Zimbabwe, Lesotho, Algeria fall into what we refer to as severely affected countries. In other words, they have experienced contractions of more than 4% of GDP in 2020. The IMF, in its April World Economic Outlook, forecasts that growth for sub-Saharan Africa will be around 3.4% in 2021 and 4% in 2022, respectively.
The International Monetary Fund forecasts economic growth of 3% for the country this year and 2% in 2022. Economists say for economic recovery to be possible, government needs to prioritize its infrastructure and vaccine rollout.
Clearly, there are two major factors that need to be overcome. The first is to start rolling out vaccines rapidly enough and to a significant enough extent to allow the economy to return to normality. In fact, the IMF indicated that one of the main reasons why it has been so pessimistic about South Africa's growth forecasts is precisely because we are lagging the rest of the world in terms of the rollout of vaccines. And the second important factor is it is no coincidence that the economy slowed between 2011 and 2019 to the extent that it did. There were major structural impediments, high levels of corruption and state capture, an inability to implement infrastructural investment programs, very few decent educational outcomes, and state-owned enterprises that were running increasingly inefficiently and were subject to state capture and were becoming ever more reliant on the state to bail them out.
Professor Yanni Russo of the Wits Business School says government needs to get its ports and borders operating to get trade going and increase investor appetite.
So the government must get things like the ports and the border posts to work and to work properly. Then trade will follow, and with trade, investment will follow, and investment will lead to higher economic growth in South Africa. So the government's role in this economy is to make it easy and make it attractive for the private sector to do business in South Africa.
Earlier this year, President Cyril Ramaphosa announced the country's economy recovery plan to revive the economy to its pre-COVID pandemic times. Economists say the enforcement of economic policies will lead to economic growth. Nothando Makutulela, SABC News, Johannesburg.